This is the Sports Gambling Podcast live on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Here are your hosts, Sean Green and Ryan Kramer. I can't believe we're letting these guys on my network.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast live here on VSiN. I'm Sean, second the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, real money Kramer. What's happening, Kram? Dog.
I thought you were going to go with maybe a hand grenade instead of the two guns. I don't know what's legal.
Yeah, nowadays. I don't know. Maybe I will get suspended by Bill 80 for the imaginary. Yeah, I got to, obviously referencing John Morant with his finger guns. The fact that he got in trouble for finger guns and he immediately pivoted to imaginary hand grenade. I got to say, it's one of the more creative things I've seen in the NBA and in the celebration game. So hats off to him. I for whatever reason, I was dying laughing when I saw it.
It was like the corny thing. The corny guy at the party was doing the finger guns, and now it's like a punishable offense.
Well, and speaking of the Memphis Grizzlies, out to a 68-51 lead in the play-in tournament game. I'm sitting on a Mavs +6, small sprinkle on the Mavs money line. Gafford over 8.5 points. He's only got 3. Maybe they come back. 68-53 right now. No lead is safe in the association, Ryan, as you know. And the Grizzlies, the first half was incredibly. Their 3-point shooting was just lights out. So we'll see if they can sustain that for the rest of this game. And I kind of, if you're hopping in live, I don't mind the Mavs just because I thought the Grizzlies really expended a lot of energy in that first play-in game against the Warriors. But we'll see how that goes. Heat get the win and the cover, 123-114 overtime. Ryan, you were on the Heat, right?
Full disclosure, I took a little nap as that overtime period was. No, it was one of those games where it's like, okay, Heat got this in the bag. I fall asleep. I wake up. It's like the Heat don't have this in the bag. Doze back off. Oh, it's in overtime now. Heat have it in the bag. So yeah, no, it's just classic NBA. Back to that Mavs game, 15.5. You taking the Mavs live?
Yeah. Definitely, because I still think now it's 68-55. So even within our
10-1 on the money line, are we jumping in live?
I mean, you could do worse than hopping in. It's a nice Friday night sweat, Ryan. We're not
10-1.
We're doing it from the LA studio, so we don't have the sweat of the slot machine or Circa Blackjack. Of course, we will be playing some sports betting blackjack draft edition, and we're kind of making this our NFL draft special because this is the last time we're going to be on VSiN before the NFL draft. At least the first round, when a lot of these bets come through, knock on wood. But we're going to be going through kind of by divisions, AFC East, NFC East, favorite plays from there, and walking through, and then closing out with a nice long shot NFL draft props. Then we're talking a little baseball, a little NBA with Scotty Reichel, talking more NFL draft props with CJ Sullivan and UFL picks. If anyone tuned into our UFL podcast, you got a winner, rocking chair winner, Ryan, in the Michigan Panthers 27-9 over the Showboats. You can make fun of the league all you want, but don't make fun of how easy. And Ryan, you know me, I'm pretty superstitious. I'll never say this bet's easy or we got it in the bag. I'm very, very cognizant of that. And yet I don't mind spitting, just being disrespectful for the gambling gods at how easy it is to pick apart these UFL games.
It does fit when you're right. It feels more easy than other leagues when you get a bet right. Because when you get Michigan versus Memphis right, and you realize all the turmoil Memphis is going through with their coach quitting for the second time this season, and then you have Michigan, one of the best rosters in the league, strong defense, and a little bit of a running game. Which, by the way, they lost one of their quarterbacks, which actually made them better because they don't play 2 quarterbacks now. That's just one game. This is a soap opera mixed with bad football, mixed with easy to bet on feelings when you win.
Yes. Yeah. So to your point, that when you get it right, you feel even smarter because not many people are talking about the market. And again, that's how you find soft markets. Sure, everyone's got some plays in the NFL. And I love betting the NFL, but don't get me wrong. I love the NFL. I mean, we're doing like 2 hours on the NFL draft. Trust me, we're getting into it. But when there's less action, it's a little easier to pick off some sharp numbers.
Will we
or soft numbers?
Will we be skipping UFL next week during draft weekend?
That'll be tough, Ryan. We'll have to figure it out. I'm sure.
No, we will not.
Okay, we will get a UFL podcast out, I'm sure, over on Sports Gambling Podcast. You mentioned draft weekend, the NFL draft coming up, and it's an information game. Now, everyone hears, the inside sources, they're doing this, they're not doing this. Daniel Jeremiah just put out his mock. The markets are reacting. The one piece of information that is public that I do think is worth discussing is the list of players who have accepted the invite to the NFL draft night. Now, the NFL, much like American Idol, where they stopped showing the he bang guy. Like, remember back in the day where William Hung, they used to show the really bad singers, and the Schadenfreude making fun of them. That was part of it. Now, you
can't do that today.
And the NFL, the American Idol, they had it to show. Obviously, they don't show the really horrible, possibly mentally ill people, which made the show super entertaining to some degree if you're a sick SOB. But that the same thing has applied to the NFL draft. They don't want someone sitting in the green room looking at their phone. The girlfriend.
They don't want to do that anymore.
Aaron Rodgers was a great example. Even Will Levis last year was a little. Remember? It was like 2 years ago. Will Levis.
Yeah, when he was a clown before we fell in love with him.
And shout out to whoever came up with that fake story about Will Levis. He was Will Levis's best friend, and he went number 3 overall. I forgot to do that right this year, and maybe there's still time to come up with a fake Reddit post about how we know for sure I'm best friends with Shedeur Sanders. He's definitely going 3. And that's not
how you do it with though. You do it with Tyler Shuck.
Tyler Shuck, you're right.
No one knows his friends, and he's been in college since Trevor Lawrence. We've been over this before. Lots of college roommates.
He's got a laundry list of roommates, people maybe in the know.
He backed up Herbert, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I mean, let's just crazy.
he's been in college for a long time. The one name. And I kind of tip my hand there. The one name that's not on this list that has been linked to the first round pretty strongly is Shedeur Sanders. Now, Ryan, you're a Giants fan. The Giants are picking at number 3. You want them to go either Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. You're not anti-taking Shedeur Sanders, but you're anti-missing out on either Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, which it seems like one of those two guys, probably Abdul Carter if you believe the odds, but will be available. But you don't want them to. You're okay maybe if they take Shedeur later in the first round and or early second round. But the fact that, in my mind, I keep going back and forth. The fact that he's not going to the draft, he did, and he was invited, but he's not going. That to me makes me think he's not 100% sure he's a first round pick. Am I right to read it that way?
Maybe they're just not paying him enough. The Sanders fan. No, I think
they're not going to play his music.
I mean, look, the Dion went from like these 3 teams are cool to these 5 teams to any team's cool. You drafted, and so I certainly think this is more just them being safe, being careful with the image of young Shedeur, which. You look at the juxtaposition of Jalen Milroe, who is going. Most people have no clue why, because he doesn't appear like he's going to be a first rounder. But guess what? Next man up mentality. He says, I just want to be there, which he's a dog. He went to Alabama to play for Saban. Why? He wanted to play for the best.
Well, also too, like if you're Milroe, I don't think you're coming in with no hype, or at least no hype is probably not the right word, but you're not expected to be a top 10 pick. There's a chance the Saints take you at 9. There's a chance someone trades up into the top 10 and takes you, and that would be awesome to be there. There's a chance you go 21 to the Steelers. There's a chance you're not in the first round, so you're not expected to go high. So I think hey, I got nothing to lose. And the fact that he was invited, there must be enough buzz for him to go up there. Any of these other names you find surprising that maybe have accepted or haven't accepted?
I mean, I think Jackson Dart to have the confidence to accept when Shedeur didn't.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's certainly
right?
interesting. Other than that, it's mostly guys who you're like, this is going to be a first rounder. Maybe Tyler Booker, another teammate of Milroe's out of Alabama, is questionable, but it's Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. It's maybe a fringe guy. But I mean, this, you can look at this one of two ways. You can find it embarrassing to sit there for an entire night on national TV talking about the best football players in the land, or you can be like, hey, they invited me, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
That feels like a free trip to me. And I'm sure some of these guys, if I knew some college football players in my day, if it's free, it's for me is a mentality they all have.
Yeah, and to your point, I don't know if they're dying if it's about the free trip. I think
it might be.
Well, I think Shador, and especially these kids are getting paid, so the idea of a free trip, maybe not what it used to be.
And I guarantee, like for Shador, it was like he couldn't bring his film crew with him.
They're not going to play his music when he's drafted. The other interesting one, and not necessarily the invite list, Ashton Jeanty, obviously consensus first rounder, seems like potentially top 10. I've given out Jeanty as a long shot to the Broncos. And now there's and was listening to Follow the Money. One of the beat reporters for the Broncos called in and said the Broncos are intrigued about trading up to get Jeanty. That price is now down to 16-1 from 32-1. Hashtag moving markets here. But Jeanty put out a statement about like it's tackle football. Why don't you draft the guy that everyone couldn't tackle? I kind of read that, and again, trying to read between the lines, is a guy who maybe is hearing he's not going to be top 10 or a little nervous about the guaranteed spot. Everyone says he's going to the Raiders. I don't think it's quite that sure of a thing.
No, he saw Gino write those letters a couple years back. He wanted to get involved in the game.
And update, the Memphis Grizzlies only up 10, 78-68. Don't call it a comeback. It is the association. When we return, draft picks, NFC East, AFC East. Sports Gambling Podcast live on VSiN.
This is the Sports Gambling Podcast live on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back, everyone. Sports Gambling Podcast live. Sean Stacking Money Kramer with my partner in picks, Ryan Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Happy draft season, Sean.
Happy draft season indeed. And of course, also baseball. You know, we got God's Eye here in our studio, 8 screens, which means a lot of baseball up on the screen. And if you're watching baseball, you got to be betting on it. You got to be getting down on some action. And in the great state of California, you can do that over at Profit X. That's right. Best odds in 40 plus states. Download the Profit X app. Use the promo code VSiN. Get up to $200 in profit cash. And again, being an exchange means you're going to get the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. I had a nice little Profit X play on the Phillies today. Nice little rocking chair win, especially if you're playing the money line in baseball. That 10 to 20%, especially if you're betting all summer, makes a huge difference. So download Profit X, use the promo code VSiN, earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. Profit X promo code VSiN. So Kramer, we've been talking NFL draft a lot here this month on the podcast, on the show on VSiN, but we're up against it. This is our last VSiN show before the NFL draft. Thought it would be good to kind of give out some of our favorite plays, break it up by division. Why don't we start AFC East? A bunch of different ways you can go. I'll put you on the clock. Favorite AFC East NFL draft bet?
Well, and I would say that before we get into it, I think this late breaking rumors. We know that the Dolphins could be trading. We were not aware that the draft pick may be in the mix.
Ooh.
I don't know if you saw this, Sean, but the Jalen Ramsey for Devonta Smith with some pick swapping in there.
That was not a legitimate trade.
I know.
Okay.
I was just looking to get your comment. But with the trade looming, does that because I'm going to go to the Dolphins and we're going to play the Dolphins here. But with the trade looming, in general, for me, it seems like that becomes an interesting team to potentially attack for a couple of reasons. One, you have a perceived chalk in terms of who they're going to pick with the offensive lineman, which does make a lot of sense, but we know they're also trading Ramsey and cornerback in this draft. I think might pose a better value to me. Well, then, if they don't trade, they're the floor for Will Johnson. And I wonder if it's not, to me, them either trading back or staying pat and taking a cornerback is seeming more and more likely with the Jalen Ramsey.
Well, and also too, maybe they trade Ramsey for an offensive lineman, then all of a sudden they don't need him, or maybe they trade back and the offensive lineman they don't want is there. Especially, we're doing this show Friday night. There's still a ton of time. We haven't gotten any pre-draft trades. We're usually good for one. There's gonna be a couple draft nights, so it seems like they're in the mix. But what are you doing here then? You're taking.
Yeah, I'm gonna take. So what the Dolphins is a team that early in the process we took a piece of the receiver market because Tyreek Hill was maybe getting traded, but then since it does seem like it's going to be offensive line or cornerback. It feels like closer to a coin flip for me. So the fact that I can still get and shop this around, but the fact that I can still get cornerback at plus 225 here, I'm seeing as high as plus 225. That feels like a good side of a coin, as they would say. That's the lighter side, I guess. It's going to show upwards.
Yes, I agree. To me, and I mentioned this on the podcast, but my big overall theory is to lean into chaos, especially this far out. Everyone thinks it's a sure thing. They're doing X, Y, or Z. These teams, some of these teams, the GMs, they're crazy. You don't know what they're going to do. And I love going to new situations. We haven't seen Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets in a draft room. We don't know how much what his say is, if he's the loudest guy in the room, who he likes. It creates total different dynamics. The only time I go chalk is teams like maybe the Chiefs or the Eagles, where it's been a similar head coach GM dynamic for a long time. And you can kind of, their history. We've never seen Aaron Glenn in a draft room. This is his first year of being a head coach. He's a defensive minded guy. The Jets need a defensive tackle. They can get the second best defensive lineman or edge at that spot. Now, also there is some talk about teams potentially. Well, one, they're in the mix for Tyler Warren. I don't like that price. It's too low. But I certainly think maybe they trade down. Either way, the Jets need a defensive tackle. Them to take a D-line / edge is at plus 850. Are you kidding me? How do you compete in the AFC East? You're going up against Josh Allen. You need a great defensive line. Aaron Glenn knows that. He's a defensive minded guy. 850 for a defensive lineman. I think that's a great price. So I'm leaning into the Jets. We don't know what they're going to do. Give me the Jets D-line edge at plus 850. What about the NFC East, right?
Well, did you hear about the Aaron Rodgers stuff with maybe Aaron Glenn? Interesting meeting there. So who knows what's going to happen?
Aaron Rodgers we just got to will he go away if we stop talking about him?
We were on this years ago, calling him our hero. So he's certainly not acting like it right now. This is a little bit of a cheat for the NFC East, but it's something I've been loving all draft season. I want to say the last 2 or 3 seasons I've hit the first receiver. Yeah. It has not been chalk. This year it's Matthew Golden I've been loading up on all sorts of prices between plus 140 and plus 200 throughout the process. You can get it right now for plus 160. And the reason I'm putting this in the NFC East is because this is potentially going to be the Cowboys pick there at 12. I think between McMillan and Golden, it seems like everything I've read is messaging towards it's going to be Golden over McMillan. They're looking for that type of receiver, speed over size. And so keep him in the state of Texas, first receiver to be drafted. Obviously I have some more outs than the NFC East teams, but to me, it starts when the Cowboys go on the clock in terms of the receiver game. And of course, this is first receiver not named Travis Hunter.
Yeah. And again, obviously do your research. As far as like when you're betting these, the one tricky guy, obviously besides Travis Hunter, and I think everyone knows he's being seen, or most places grading him as a cornerback. But again, read the fine print or ask them before you get down. The other guy that I think is worth talking about that could be graded either a linebacker or an edge is Jalon Walker. So definitely double check your prices, because I don't know if every book is grading him at the same position. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that. Ryan, for me, my NFC East, one of my favorite plays is the Giants to draft Shedeur at plus 440. I think is a tremendous price. Now, part of this is that I already have given out here on VSiN and on the podcast. I already have Shedeur to go to the Steelers at 7-1. So now I can load up on another plus a decent price here at Shedeur at plus 440. And obviously, he doesn't have to go to him number 3. He could fall past the Steelers. There's certainly and part of it, this play for me personally.
How many teams are taking quarterbacks?
Yeah.
You kind of have to get surprised because the list is fairly short, right? We've done this. We've looked at this on our podcast, but not many teams have short odds to even draft a quarterback. You have the Saints. You have the Steelers. You have
and the Saints not going to Shedeur's pro day. Maybe this is a big fake out, but I don't know. I like if I'm the Saints, I go to Jackson Dart and Shedeur's pro day if I'm interested in, and that's as much of a smoke signal. But like, why go out of your way not to go to the Shedeur pro day there? There is, of course, that last this final workout where the Giants are attending. I think John Mara is infatuated with the idea of bringing a star to New York. I think Prime and Prime Jr. in the Big Apple, I think, is very appealing for Mara, who wants to move some jerseys. And I think Shedeur, Malik Neighbors,
that was disgusting.
You don't think John Mara is thinking about that? A guy, well, and who's bigger tabloid guy than John Mara himself?
That's
a guy whose son,
making your point.
Whose son, of course, stole the show, saying, "Dad, you got to get Jaden Daniels," and him saying, "I'm not going to sleep well at night if the Eagles have Saquon Barkley." What's the way you make that all disappear? You get a big star at quarterback, and I think so. There's 2 ways Dable and Joe Shane keep their job. One, you get into the playoffs with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, or you show enough progress with a rookie quarterback that they keep your job. And to me, that means drafting Shedeur Sanders. Now, I think it could be later in the first round, them trading up, or maybe he slipped all the way to the second round, a la why he's not going to the draft. So I think there's a lot of outs for the Giants to draft him at plus 440. Again, part of the handicap is I already have Steelers at 701. The Browns, I guess, I don't understand the Saints being the favorite at plus 145. I still think Jackson Dart is their guy. But if the Saints take him or the Browns take him, I'm out. But if he goes the Steelers or Giants, I got a juicy plus money price.
There's only 4 teams that we think are taking quarterbacks for certain.
Yeah.
Rams maybe on the fringe then. So you got a good chance.
Thank you, Ryan. When we return, we're going to keep it up. NFL draft. We'll talk NFC West, AFC West, our favorite picks and props for the NFL draft. When we return, Sports Gambling Podcast live here on VSiN.
This is the Sports Gambling Podcast live on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back, everyone. Sports Gambling Podcast live, showing the second room with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. 101.86 Grizzlies, Mavs. How you feeling?
I mean, we got 10-1. We got some CLV that counts for anything.
Ooh, yeah. No, definitely. I'm still sweating out my +6. Hopefully that gets home. Again, all it takes is a little bit of a run. They had one to start the second half, then it cooled off. But you're not really cooked in the NBA until you get to those last few minutes. And speaking of the NBA, Kramer and I, along with our buddy Scott Reichel, we were invited to be part of this NBA playoff challenge. 15 contestants. And of course, we're going to be entering our picks over at vsin.com. Make sure you get in and track our picks. Us and 15 sharp minds, VSiN and Killer Sports coming together for a fun contest. 570 picks total. So Kramer, we got to make 38 picks each through the NBA playoffs. I already put in 4.
Nice.
Because they break it down. They have like 20 in the first round and then 10 and then 5 and 3, I think, sides and totals only. But this is going to be super fun. And of course, follow along over at vsin.com/subscribe. Get in full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59. Shout out to Killer Sports and VSiN for putting on this contest. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. And we'll talk some of our picks later on when we talk hoops. with our buddy Scott Rochelle from the NBA Gambling Podcast. But back to some draft plays. Kramer, we'll start with the AFC West. What are you doing? What's your favorite AFC West play?
This one's going to be not fun.
Okay.
We're just Patrick Mahomes wants an offensive lineman. There's a number of tackles specifically who will be going in this range of the draft. I understand that it's the chalk sitting at -115, but give me Kansas City to draft an offensive lineman first. Clearly, it had something to do with them losing to the Eagles pass rush.
Yes.
And so I think sometimes, to your point on chaos, this isn't where I'm betting on chaos. This is where I'm betting on that Patrick Mahomes and the Mahomes camp have made it clear. Listen, we give you extra money. We take these deals. Go get an offensive lineman now. So I'll be shocked if it's not offensive lineman.
Yeah, there's been some rumblings about maybe a running back.
No, that would be crazy
at 15-1. Oh,
mate, you're the price adjusted, sure, but that would be like especially with the way they got just whipped around.
I'm with you. And the Eagles beat up on Patrick Mahomes so much he got a new haircut. I don't know if you saw that, Ryan, but
boy.
It's like when a girl goes through a breakup, she gets her haircut, a new style. She doesn't want. Patrick Mahomes doesn't want to be associated with that Super Bowl. And I understand he got his butt kicked by the Eagles. D-line destroyed him. They ate up that Kansas City O-line. So certainly makes a ton of sense, addresses a bunch of needs there. In the AFC West, a little bit of plus money. I think for the Chargers, I will take Chargers to go tight end at +450 with the idea that Michigan-owned Colston Loveland might be available to Harbaugh. Harbaugh clearly has football players he likes, right? And he tries to build the team around those type of guys, some smash mouth football type of guys. And I could see him being attracted to Colston Loveland. And there, for me, like handicapping some of these good tight ends, and it's considered a pretty deep tight end class by all accounts. They might not even go Colston Loveland. It could be one of the other tight ends. And how do you make the quarterback's job easier? Well, obviously you get them a tight end. It makes their job easier. And what's the best way to shake off that embarrassing playoff performance? Yes, I'm still upset at you, Justin Herbert. It's give him some easy throws. Get him a good pass catching tight end like Colston Loveland, who could be a weapon and is a decent blocker at +450. Now O-line is a favorite. I understand the case for that, but I like tight end at +450. And they could also be a team that trades down if one of these teams like the Giants, like the Browns, trade back up into the late second round. They're right around the Steelers there, who might also be looking for a quarterback. So I could see the Chargers, who haven't been talked about very much as a possible trade up or trade down candidate. I could see them accepting a trade and then going tight end later, or just if Colston Loveland falls. So a couple different ways I think this could get home, like the price at +450. Kramer.
Well, and I've seen there's been some movement in the Loveland market, so I think his price is getting more expensive. So though they might have to move, but which, by the way, there are multiple Michigan prospects that Harbaugh could decide to fall in love with all over again.
Oh yeah,
I think that's possible. All right, should we go to the Raiders?
Yes.
So there's been a lot of talk lately. What could the Raiders do? What was the chalk for a while? Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah.
The Marshawn Lynch comp.
I like cornerback.
Well, have you looked recently, Sean? Because that price has gone all the way out to +850 for cornerback.
Really?
And I think some of that is around now. Running back still the favorite, but it's moved to closer to even money. Offensive lineman is now the second favorite, which I think that makes a lot more this is where like logic starts to set in after we realize that all these prices are driven off of like one guy's mock draft who everyone else then copies.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, it does make sense that Pete Carroll would want another first round talent like Ashton Jeanty. Now, I like your cornerback angle too, but there's another angle here. What if they decide to go receiver? They've been tied to McMillan. Yeah. Now I just gave out Matthew Golden +150 to be the first receiver taken. Do you know what the price is for the Raiders to take a receiver first? 20-1.
Really?
20-1. So we're going to put that one down. Again, it's almost like a little insurance. I already got the running back angle taken care of. We got down a little bit of cornerback. But at 20-1, wide receiver, this is now still a win now move. It's probably a smarter win now move with the wide receiver asset, but pretty shocking here. And there's the connection. Wide receivers coach from Arizona is coaching on the Chip Kelly staff there and the Pete Carroll staff. So we like to draw those connections. Oftentimes they lead us down the wrong path, but at the price of 20-1,
Hayden Winks, who works for Underdog, does a lot of film review. He just put out his mock draft, and he has McMillan going to the Raiders at 6.
He was one of the sources of like pointing out that collegiate connection. But that the price just seemed a little out of whack, right?
Yeah,
you got to take a piece of the big price.
Kramer.
Yes,
I know you're going to talk about the Rams and your quarterback price, although I don't know, maybe you don't like it now that the value's gotten sucked out of it. The fact that is getting steamed for the NFC West means. So did you give out 2?
Yeah, I realized I gave out 2 for the AFC West because I wasn't planning on giving out the boring one. That's where the Raiders one came from. But I gave out Chiefs and Raiders. Deal with it. I gave you the Rams first pick to be a quarterback at 14-1 a week.
So now what can
I do?
Give your CLV tab.
It's plus 450 right now.
I will, and the fact that that's going down to me, that creates some value on the other positions. Give me the Rams to take a receiver at 9-1. I think that's sweet
diabolical.
Spot. Well, let's say, I mean, I don't think it's that crazy. Yeah, they had Devontae Adams. Yeah, they have Puka Nacua, but Tutu Atwell. You're telling me you're a win now team and your third option is Tutu Atwell?
I'm not against it. They pick in the right part of the draft.
I guess
they could trade down.
I guess to me it makes sense. Let's say it doesn't work out for the quarterback position, which again, I think you did a good job of identifying great value, but also it's not like the most win now move. And it does feel like the Rams, the fact that they brought Stafford back, they let him get shop around the trade. And what do? You have an old quarterback, you give him some young talent and you get rid of the old guy. They got rid of Cooper Kupp. You replace him with a young pup, and the 26 range is kind of the sweet spot. We keep hearing about Pittsburgh wants a quarterback. I think the Chargers could be a place that the teams that are interested in trading back up could go up. Houston. I mean, look at the Chargers, Green Bay, Minnesota, Houston, 22-25. That is going to be a buyer's market for either the Giants or the Browns to hop up ahead of the Rams if they think the Rams are serious about drafting a quarterback. So let's say they do that, and then that creates an opportunity for the Rams. All right, hey, we didn't get our quarterback. Well, let's just kind of lean into the win now mentality. They feel pretty good about their running game. I think you could use a stud, and they've done a great job. I mean, they drafted Puka Nacua in the 5th round. They drafted Cooper Kupp. Like, they've done a good job of identifying receiver talent. Now, I guess maybe that could work against my point of like they found good receiver talent late, but I think there's a little bit of value there on the Rams.
I have it on good authority. The Giants and the Cardinals have a trade. There's already been an agreement made. I think the teams with the quarterback trade up ideas are going to want to get ahead of the Steelers.
Does seem like that, because I just don't think the Steelers are going to be starting Mason Rudolph opening day, and it doesn't seem like Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler. 106-88 Grizzlies hanging on to the lead. We'll talk the South, NFC, AFC South, NFL draft props when we return. Sports Gambling Podcast live on VSiN.
This is the Sports Gambling Podcast live on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back, everyone. Sports Gambling Podcast live. Sean Steck with Money Green with a partner in picks. Ryan, Real Money Kramer. Kramer, how are the Mavs doing?
Well, I guess it was a 10-1 bet for a reason.
They're hanging around. They're down 15. 5:38 left to go.
When I made the bet, it was 15.5. It's now 16. So the CLV is evaporated.
No CLV here.
I mean this is the NBA for you. We still got 5.5 minutes.
Yeah.
17 points.
I knock on wood, my +6, hoping for a backdoor here. But you know who's always open? Edge Boost, the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. I got a notice from Edge Boost that the physical card is on the way. Cannot wait for using that physical card because it's been great. I've been loading up anytime I'm out in Vegas or for DFS. If you're playing DraftKings DFS, Underdog, Pick'em, all those different places, anywhere you can use a Visa debit card that is gambling or casino related, DFS, even the sweepstakes sites, they all take the Edge Boost card, and it's great. You earn cashback rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with promo code SGP. Deposit $25, and Edge Boost will match the deposit. Edgeboost.bet, promo code SGP. Kramer, what are we doing here for the South?
You want to start in the AFC?
Yeah, sure. What do you got for the AFC South?
Okay. Well, first of all, very fun division. I think you can go to a lot of these teams and have some fun because, whether it's the Texans in that early perception of them trying to reunite Ibuka and CJ Stroud, or the Jags at the top with going from consensus to not consensus and back. And now there's some rumors of maybe them looking at the running back. But yeah, let's go to the Colts. Very consistent. You said you want to look for chaos.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking at a team that does the same thing over and over again. Well, the Colts are a team that does the same thing over and over again. Last 11 years, 7 times they've taken offensive or defensive line. 2 of those years were quarterbacks. So only 2 years did they stray from these core positions. You can get offensive line at 320, defensive line at +850, all because we think they might take a tight end. This is still the craziest story of draft season to me. You're talking about a team with Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, and Jonathan Taylor, 3 very good running backs there in the backfield. That they're a tight end away. This is the craziest thing, especially from a franchise that has done a really good job finding late round tight ends to work in their system. This is a narrative that hasn't made sense all offseason for me. So yeah, defensive line at +850, offensive line at +320. I'll probably do like a 2/3 ratio there. 2 parts offensive line, 1 part defensive line. But to me, very consistently, they've drafted this way, even back before Ballard got the job. So it's an organizational, it's an Irsay thing. Loves driving his golf cart, loves drafting in the trenches.
Yeah. Again, kind of going back to the chaos side where I like the longer shot stuff better there. Let's take a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now the Jags are interesting because everyone has their take on what they should do, but again, it's a new quarterback, new GM situation. It is wide open to the point that the blue book, Ryan, isn't even offering right now the Jags market. A little scared off. Now D-line edge is the favorite, but they're the Jacksonville Jaguars. They already have a lot. Running back is +280, but are they going to go?
That's GT? Come out of nowhere.
Maybe.
One report, boom.
Yes, I think an angle that's not getting reported on enough is the fact that they could be interested in Tyler Warren, the Jags beat reporter. She was on Follow the Money. She was making a good case for it. It was something that I identified as well. Liam Cohen needs some playmakers on offense. He needs to make I confuse Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence because I have them as the same guy, a guy who can't get it done in the playoffs and has all this talent, and everyone keeps telling me how awesome they is. How do you make him a better quarterback? How do you make him his life easier? You give him Tyler Warren. Now, there's a world where if they feel confident, maybe they even trade back a little bit. Maybe the Bears get frisky and they want GT. There's a lot of different worlds where they end up getting a tight end and it's 17-1. I also like a little sprinkle there on quarterback at 22-1 because those are 2 positions of need. They got rid of Evan Ingram in the offseason, and now you're telling me tight end, AKA you could make a case the best pass catcher available might be Tyler Warren at number 5. 17-1. That's way too high. Give me Tyler Warren tight end. Could be Tyler Warren. Could trade down. There's a lot of different ways you get to this. So give me the Jags 17-1 to take a tight end.
Okay, I'm gonna see your tight end and raise you.
Okay.
So the Saints we think are gonna maybe take a quarterback, but just like the what we just like the Giants and the Browns, we think they might be doing it later in the draft because there will be opportunity to trade up. I believe the Saints have pick 40 and maybe some future assets. They've never been afraid to trade up and get their guy. And I think, like some of these teams drafting in the top 10, they might see it as not worth passing up the talent they might be looking down the barrel at. And I actually think it could be Ty Warren. I think when you look at, have you read some of this stuff lately? Apparently, well, a couple of the Saints, guys who cover the Saints, have made comments about how there has been conversation about the tight end position, about the criticality of that position to what they want to do on offense.
Is that a word?
It's football. It's football talk.
It does sound like a football
criticality.
You just
add add some letters to the end, turn a noun into an adjective. No, but I think that the idea now that they're drafting something that isn't quarterback up top, there's chaos. Quarterback is still the chalk for this team. And while defensive line, offensive line, all in that vicinity, even wide receivers, I think the weapon idea is more fun to me. Wide receiver, you can find as high as 10-1, but I'm going to go tight end at 7-1, Sean, because I do think the more NFL people really like Tyler Warren. They're against my take on his tiny hands and potentially having drop problems at the next level. So I'm going to go with first position drafted by the Saints, tight end, 7-1, with a small whisper. Also take wide receiver.
Well, again, I gave out Saints. The place that was grading them had Jalon Walker as a linebacker, and I think I got linebacker at like 8-1, 9-1. Again, I didn't want to give it out because it's kind of confusing depending on which books grade him a linebacker, D-line edge.
They've done a bad job with that because no one sees him as a linebacker. Why are they making this confusing for everyone?
Yeah, you're right. They should just have a little thing at the top.
He's playing edge at the NFL level,
especially with it only applies to a couple people. Just show. Just put it up at the top of the draft menu. Be like, hey, this guy's a
pass rusher. Just
Travis Hunter.
Rusher.
Travis Hunter is a cornerback, and Jalon Walker is an edge. However you want to grade it, just do that. I do like a long shot for this team. We'll probably get to that later when we end the show and we talk some NFL draft long shots. But we were talking about the different team needs for our podcast. Again, went through the entire National Football League. Check out that podcast with CJ Sullivan. You guys were, and I forget if it was you or CJ, were talking about the Bucks and how linebacker makes a ton of sense. This is one of the chalkier ones that I do like. I think there's a good chance that the Tampa Bay Bucks have a chance to get the best linebacker in the draft class at +165. I think they might hop on that. Need some help on defense. Need some help on that front seven. So I do like Tampa Bay to draft a linebacker at +165 there. So not the long shot. I'll save that for the long shot section, but Tampa Bay, them investing in the linebacker position. They haven't really found a solution post Levante David, who briefly had a stint on the Eagles for felt like a game. I forget what I don't even know if he made the official team. But the defense hasn't really recovered since losing him. And Todd Bowles, obviously defensive minded guy. Feels like they're pretty good on the offensive side. We'll see, but linebacker for them, especially there's not a lot of teams you look at that will probably be drafting a linebacker ahead of them. So I'll go the Bucks to draft a linebacker +165 and Jags to take a tight end 17-1.
I will say the Bucks are one of the teams I'm most confident on the side of the ball they're drafting. They're taking a defensive player. I prefer, for me, my preference is cornerback, just a more variance. I know Todd Bowles is taking a defensive player. I'm not sure which one. So maybe we'll get lucky there. But yeah, I think he's said out loud that he needs a linebacker. So that's always and he's one of those coach speak guys that doesn't lie. Todd Bowles doesn't know how.
Ryan, if I had a physical ticket on the Mavs, I would be ripping it up. Because it's 116.97, 254 left. There goes the +6. Well, not gonna happen.
Nico was building for the future.
What future? Certainly not his own future. Not really beloved there in Mavericks country. When we return, we will be joined by our buddy CJ Sullivan from the Bottom Line Bombs podcast to get his favorite NFL draft props and a little UFL when we return. Sports Gambling Podcast live here on VSiN.